Greetings! Welcome to the Devlog for hot dogs, horseshoes, and hand grenades. We're going to start off as always with a quick sound check. Make sure your speakers aren't up too high. Wonderful. Even though that aim was not wonderful. So what have we got for you this week? Well, I have been working away on our qualification range, and you can probably hear to the side that the action has already started. I am also sitting right now. If you're like, why are you so low to the ground, Anton? It is because I just twisted my ankle this morning testing in VR. This is what happens when you don't clear your tracked range in time. Anywho, let's go ahead and grab this. Before we get to shooting, let's go take a look at what is going down over here. I have taught the Sosigs something new. That is right. I have taught them how to target shoot, along with rebuilding this entire range to enable this to happen. Let's go check out one. We can see we've actually got two who are on their way to their given stations. We've got one over here. It's going to get louder as we get up next to it. So let's see what's going on.
Reloading.
Uh-huh. Shoot. Oh, got the 50 left. That looked like a 150. A 100. 50 right. Doing good. Doing good. So yeah, so the way this is set up is that this is using some of the same functionality that the door breaching system does, where the Sosigs can be put into a state where they are firing at a target. I had to do a whole bunch of things to make them better at it, but oh, we got one going on over here. Haha, delightful. Let's go ahead and check out our own lane and get away from... I should have given them suppressed weapons. It's so loud. As you can see, our targets are actually different colors. And as I popped up near this plinth, I essentially claimed this lane for myself. We're going to move further down here so that that's even quieter. Feels so hilarious to be going around several feet off the ground here. There we go. That's a little quieter. Beautiful. So we have a range panel. This is all still very work in progress. As I said, I had to rebuild the way this whole thing worked to essentially create a perception surface that the agents could interact with. So each one of those agents that is in their lane is actually aware of which targets can currently be shot at. When one sort of gets shot and goes down, they dynamically pick another, which means that once I eventually give them a sequence instead of what things are currently set to, which is open shoot, they'll actually be able to do it. So speaking of which, we've got ourselves a Mark 12 Mod 1, which is kind of my favorite. Let's make sure let's get our scope the correct distance. There we go. And for ease of things, what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to knock my FOV down a little bit. Hopefully I'll try to keep my head stable. Apologies if this FOV is a little more nauseating, but I want you to be able to actually see downrange a little bit better. So if we look over at this panel, this isn't fully functional, but you'll be able to set the target color for your lane. You can be an open shoot, which we currently are here, or we can spawn ammo for our selected sequence. This is M16, M14, that's not correct, that should say M4 qual. Like so. We're going to go ahead and put our other magazines in our pocket here. Beautiful. We can set ourselves to sequence, and then we can start this sequence. Notice how the moment I set it to sequence, all of the targets hid themselves. Let's test and make sure our magnification is what we want it to be. I'm going to turn it up just a little bit, just to make hitting that 300 a little bit easier. And my ankle is twisted, so I am not going to be going between prone and standing and kneeling like you actually do in this sequence. But let's see how this sequence works. Okay, first one's going to be 50 right. We only have 3 seconds to hit it. You can see it lets us know what phase we're in and which targets are currently active. And then group 4. Here we go. Okay. That was our first table of the 4. We've got a little break. Here we go, second table. Obviously, I'm using a magnified optic, so this is significantly easier. My heart goes out to all of you folks who have had to do this off of irons. I've just noticed a hilarious bug. It is counting significantly higher numbers of hits scored because I think it's actually counting some of the bot's hits because I'm not properly filtering the incoming hits per lane, but wouldn't be a devlog without a bug. We can keep track of our own hits. Okay, going to table 3. There we go, 50 right. This is obviously so much easier to do sitting than freestanding. Target set 3 coming up. Remember, if you're not aware, while holding any weapon in H3, there is filtering that you can enable by simply... Oh no, we missed a shot! Oh, our magazine is out. Oh, and it goes away. There's filtering we can enable by simply holding down the trigger with your forward hand. Once I actually clean out my track range, I totally want to try this with all of the actual, like, positional changes you're supposed to be doing while doing it. I'm, of course, doing this in lazy mode. Beautiful. That's the end of that magazine. And there we go. There's our sequence. It registered 40 shots from me and 55 hits scored. So, you know, I'm wondering, I don't even know if this is hits coming in from the bots or if there is some other logic bug, because clearly we should not have a 138% accuracy. So something has gone terribly awry. I wonder if it's like registering multiple hits because I'm like hitting multiple colliders on the target. I'm clearly going to have to do some more event filtration to make that work right, but as I said, I literally just got a bunch of this stuff working. Getting my Sosigs to actually fire. Oh, you know what? Ha! I think they all just ran out of ammo, which means they're just going to spin endlessly in an idle state. This is another bug that I don't know what's going on because I'm totally feeding them a direction they're supposed to be facing, which is downrange, but instead they're just goobers and are just spinning around like this, which is just wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. So, let's see here. Let's reload our scene. I want to actually talk a little bit more about... I'm going to grab this so that we can do that. So, amusing things. I had to change a whole bunch of internal Sosig code to make this possible. Because Sosigs have a whole bunch of really automated behaviors in terms of how they aim and fight, which are useful in a combat situation and not in a target situation. One of them has to do, and let's see if I can actually manipulate this one. If we use physics force to hold the muzzle of this gun away, you'll notice that the Sosig will never fire at its targets, even though it's trying to. This is because inside the Sosig brain, as it were, or technically within its virtual hand, it is not actually pulling the trigger until the weapon it has is within a certain angular range of what it is trying to shoot at. So in that case, there we go, boom. Hit the 50, hit the 50. Great stuff, buddy. So this is normally determined by a Sosig in combat based upon how close it is to what it's fighting, so that way if you're moving left and right really rapidly, it doesn't wait to perfectly line its gun up with the midpoint of view to fire, but just, tries its best. This did not work well in a target shooting situation, because what would happen is the Sosig would bring its gun towards the target, get within like 15 degrees, and then just fire in the air. So I had to recode a whole bunch of how that worked to actually get these fellas. Good job, buddy. To actually shoot accurately. You can get that 300. I believe in you. Oh no, I think you're shooting at the 200. Come on, do it. Do it. You're on camera. Try harder. Try harder. Oh, come on, you're shooting. You're clear. Oh no, I think you are hitting the 300. You're just hitting low. Come on, you can do it. You can do it. I don't think they're actually taking into account bullet drop. And so what might be happening is they're just serially hitting low. I have seen them hit the 300, it's just they miss most of the time. There's a little bit of mechanical inaccuracy built into their gun as well. Come on, you can do it. Come on. I'm gonna need to make another batch of you, aren't I? Oh, that was so close! Come on! Am I gonna have to go get a magazine and shoot this target for you? What a disappointment that Sosig was. So yeah, so I've got a whole bunch of other things planned for this scene that I might as well talk about now while I'm in VR. So one of the whole things is you saw all of the Sosigs ran out of ammo there. Normally not a factor. It's rare that a Sosig will actually go. I think I give them something like 500 or 999 rounds to fire. But they will actually run out here. So I'm going to end up putting in a little ammo station, which is where the item spawner will actually be in this scene. And when a Sosig runs out of ammo, they will actually come down off of their plinth. They will deregister that lane, walk over to the ammo area, and reload. I do plan to actually get a cycle in of putting making the whole range go cold momentarily. Yeah, as well as adding some extra target sequences. This is actually something that I could really use your help with, folks. This is any of you who have been in the U.S. Army and have shot on an ARF range like this. Obviously, I was able to find the qualification target sequence because that's very well publicized, but I can't imagine that that's the only target sequence a range like this is utilized for, and I would love some more options to put in here. Obviously, I can author some of my own, have some speed sequences, things like that, but if there's anything else official that should go in here for using either this, an ARF range, or an ARF Plus, which I'm also going to put in here, I would love to know. So please feel free to hit me up on any of the standard comms channels. I just realized I probably still have a narrow FOV, and this has been a little dizzying as I move my head around. So apologies for that. Yeah. So, anywho, let's jump out of VR. Yo! How are you folks doing? It's been a little while. So first up, before we get back to talking about H3, because I didn't really post about this before, I figured I'd let you know that part of the reason that I've been away is that I had to take a bit of an emergency trip across country to help my mother with some things. She fell on black ice. It's the winter. Got hurt, hit her head. I needed to be present there to just make sure she was okay. Post-concussion, came back here and then immediately had like several more familial crises. Literally begin about 20 minutes after I sat down here after my trip. So it has been rough. Any of you who follow me on social media might have noticed that I'm a little bit at the end of my rope on things, but still managing to get some sort of work here. I've got momentum going on this scene again, which has me really, really happy. Just to give you an idea of what my sort of vision for this scene is, and I wanted to have this ready to play this week. It's not ready yet. None of this is resettable, etc. I need one more week before I can get you folks in and testing this. Is that I want this scene to actually be several ranges in one scene. So as I mentioned before, this is like an ARF standard. I think that's the correct acronym. Range goes out to 300 meters. Has targets sequenced. There's something called an ARF plus, which I believe is specifically the range that is more modern and more set up, assuming that the person who is utilizing it has magnification. And so that goes out to 600 meters and this range is all what are called SITs, so stationary infantry targets. So they just pop up and down, whereas an ARF plus range has MITs, moving infantry targets. So the ones that actually like pop up like this, go whang and whop and pop back down. And it has those at 100 meter increments from 100 to 600 meters. So in this scene, literally physically next to this range, I'm also going to put in an ARF plus range. And then I also found some documentation for a standard for like the M17 pistol qualification, which is like, it's like, I believe 7 or 8 targets arrayed at a range between 7 and 28. It's either 28 or 38 meters sort of thing. And there's some presentation sets for that. I believe it's 30 rounds. And you're supposed to hit like 28 of 30 of them or something like that. And so that's a much smaller base. So I'm going to put that in there as well. Yeah, so I'm thinking of the qualification range as being this collection of several different ranges that this stuff can transpire at. And they're all going to set, each range is itself going to be this like little mini simulation that has a couple Sosigs in it that spawn when you load in. They go about and do their stuff, which means that you're not just going to have the near field sort of mise en scène of the Sosigs going about their stuff next to you. You're also going to have here these like really distant shots, because they'll probably be by default a range to your left and a range to your right, where there will be a couple more Sosigs going about and doing that. And so, but yeah, in general, this has been one of those things that I wanted to do, a long time ago, to be able to have not just a range that you can play in and practice in, but that appears to have some sort of life to it generally. And and as I said, when I actually sat down to work on this again, I was like, wait a minute, I built this whole system for being able to puppeteer the Sosigs to shoot a specific thing, which is what I had to do for door breaching. And so I was able to retask a bunch of those systems, and hopefully I didn't break the door breaching in the process. I think it should be okay. But yeah, so I'm just going to continue working on this and getting this in here, and hopefully next week you'll be able to jump into the scene, assuming that another catastrophe does not happen in my life in the next 7 days, because it's beginning to get a little ridiculous, actually, and I just needed to just vent that out to the universe right now. That it's just been sort of blow after blow in my life, and has been driving me a little batty. So, but happy to I got something done this week, and honestly a ton, because as I said, this scene, even though it looks very similar to how it looked in the last devlog, everything internally about the scene was rebuilt, because I sort of set it up as a bunch of independent entities before, whereas now this is like actually a structured like hierarchy of there is a range, and a range is composed of lanes, and a lane is composed of berms, and then berms possess targets, and there's all of this signal routing that happens up and down. And so when you go to a lane, the panel can essentially claim that lane. It can configure it a particular way. The Sosigs can individually claim lanes, and information can come up and down between those systems. And so that was everything that I had to essentially rebuild the ontology and hierarchical structure of everything in the scene to turn it into an interaction surface for those systems. And I'm super pleased with it, and it will allow me to add some more nodes within that system. So having like a range tower with an RSO for the whole range and having a little ammo tent and things like that. So Sosigs can come behind that. I've got some more ideas for some other cool things. I was thinking of having some of the Sosigs just sort of like occasionally just like wander and stretch their legs. If you're shooting at a station, one of them might actually just come over and decide to watch you. And I'm still trying to decide if I want to have the system end up having any like call outs when you're doing the actual target sequences to let you know like table 1, table 2, table 3, etc. I've got the official list of US Army call outs. I don't know if I want to do them yet, but I might do something along that lines. So we'll just see how it evolves, and it just like what ends up being fun for it. I know I'm already enjoying just like being in a scene where there are other entities just playing. And so yeah, I hope you end up enjoying it when I have you folks to play with next week. So anywho, I will stop rambling for now. As you can tell, I'm a little over caffeinated at the moment. It was an early morning, and I've just been grinding away at this to get this just barely to the point where I could show you this functionality. And I'm just going to record this devlog and then get back to work because I'm having a ton of fun. And I realized halfway through filming this that I totally had a bunch of code logic in the wrong place in that hierarchy. And now I need to just dive in and do a really big refactor to make this even more flexible. So anywho, I hope you all have yourselves a wonderful weekend, and I'll see you all soon. Peace.